What's up, everybody? Welcome to Gamescast now, episode 85. I'm Alex. This is our conversational gaming show, and this is the bonus episode of Gamescast now for the month of May. Now, it's going to keep the same themes that we've been doing for all of these Gamescasts in the month of May, leading into E3 in June. I've tried to make all of these topics E3 related, talk about games that could be announced, games that should be announced, rumors for E3, all sorts of stuff like that. And we're going to be ramping up our coverage, talking a little bit more about E3 specifically over the next couple weeks, some of the news stories, some of the more recent things that are coming out on E3. We're going to be talking about that for the next couple weeks leading into E3, and then we'll have tons of videos about E3 when it's actually going on, all the news and all stuff like that. And again, this video is going to be very similar. I want to talk about if we're going to get an announcement for the next Legend of Zelda game from obviously Nintendo, and the Nintendo Switch I think is an absolute phenomenal console. I'm a really big fan of the Nintendo Switch, and I've gone through my fair share of doubts with the Nintendo Switch, especially when it was first announced, but I'm a recent adopter. I got this console a little bit before Christmas, I think like late November around Black Friday, and then I got basically all the big games that you would maybe consider big or Nintendo exclusive games for the Nintendo Switch, and one of those games was obviously Breath of the Wild. Now, I haven't gotten a chance to really jump in and really enjoy that game as much as I should, but I obviously understand how big of a franchise Legend of Zelda is, not just Breath of the Wild, not just for the Nintendo Switch, but for Nintendo in general. The Legend of Zelda is I think the biggest franchise. I mean, obviously they have Mario, but those Mario games, there's so many different kinds of them, and yes, Legend of Zelda games kind of jump all over with the kind and the style and tone that those games are, but I think in terms of like a media darling or critical darling, I think Legend of Zelda is honestly the best thing and the biggest thing that they have. Those games just always get received, most of the time, they always get received extremely well, and they sell so many millions of copies. And honestly, those kind of games, Breath of the Wild alone, I guarantee you sold so many millions, and I do mean millions, of Nintendo Switches. It's that possible, or it's that big of a thing, that I do think it can move hardware that much. And the biggest thing is, it's now been 2 years, and I can't honestly even believe it's been that long, but it's been 2 years since this game has released. So is it about time we get word about a new game? I honestly think it is. I mean, when you look at Nintendo, they're killing it. Okay, this year in terms of games has not been strong. Okay, there's not been a lot of games in general that have really been a big thing this year. We've had a lot of controversies and a lot of games that we thought could be big, or some people think they're amazing and others don't. Games like Kingdom Hearts 3, right? That game came out and it was a really big thing, and obviously a lot of people loved it, but some people didn't. Days Gone, same thing. We haven't gotten a lot of big games, but when you look at the future, when you look at the next couple months, the next 6-7 months, the end of the year basically, I think this year is dominated by Nintendo. We got some really big Nintendo games, especially over the summer coming out. It's going to be finished with Pokemon Sword and Shield, so there's some really big games, and I think Pokemon obviously is a massive property, and that could be their biggest property as well, but that's a debate for a different day. But you have these things for this year, and you have the rumors, and I'm recording this pretty early, so you have to excuse me if Nintendo has kind of announced their Nintendo Switch 0.5, but I don't know if that's been announced yet. In terms of when I'm recording, it's not. But you have this new, kind of updated hardware that's going to be happening. There's also rumors that there's going to be another one after that there's going to be that kind of sleeker model of the Nintendo Switch kind of coming out in the summer, and then there'll be a brand new one, kind of the Nintendo Switch 1.5, coming out probably next year. That's kind of the rumors now in terms of when I'm recording. And when you look at that, you still obviously need games to push that console, and Nintendo is going to be and again, I think Nintendo Switch is amazing. It's sold amazing. It's doing just fantastic, but it's still in the gaming atmosphere with Microsoft and with Sony. And while I think they're kind of all going in different directions in terms of what they want to do in the future, especially Microsoft, I think not even going into the gaming world, or kind of slowly backing out of it, but you're still in that, and we're coming up on the next generation of consoles. We're going to get that new Xbox with, all the updated tech and all that kind of stuff, and whether, again, they really focus on games or not is left to be seen. I don't necessarily know, but you got the PS5 going to be coming out as well. I mean, there's going to be a lot of changes. The Nintendo Switch is going to have to, kind of step up with that. And how are they going to do that? Well, I think it's going to kind of be doing that PS4 Pro kind of thing, that Xbox, 1.5, all those kind of middling generation consoles. consoles. That's what Nintendo Switch is going to have to do. But at the same time, you need games. And while I do think Nintendo is killing it, I think they've killed it for the last year and a half in terms of their own exclusives, and I think they're going to kill it for the rest of this year. You need games for the future. And obviously we know a Metroid game is being reworked and kind of remade. They gave it to another studio to completely do. So there's going to be exclusives. I'm sure there's another Mario game. I'm sure there's another Mario Kart. We just got Super Smash Bros. They could probably start working on another one of those eventually, coming out 3-4 years from now, you know. But in terms of games I think are right around the corner, a Legend of Zelda game should be, I think, one of the closer games to completion. I mean, you had Mario Odyssey, you had Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, you had all of these games. You even had Splatoon 2. You could consider Splatoon a pretty big franchise, but you have all these games, and I think Legend of Zelda is probably the closest. I mean, it's one of the bigger ones for sure. I think it takes probably one of the most time to make the game, to actually develop and create the game. But again, it's been out for over 2 years now, and you've got to think that that studio is working on the next one, and you need another Legend of Zelda. I mean, I think within the next 2 years, you need another Legend of Zelda game to further say, like, you know, here you go, here's the huge franchise. You get it all the time from all the other publishers. I mean, Microsoft goes heavy with Halo and Gears, and both of those are kind of slower franchises to get their next game, and they've both kind of gone through ups and downs, but you can always rely on those games being around. Sony, you know, they kind of have a rotating cast. They're trying different things with Horizon Zero Dawn and Days Gone, and they've had Uncharted, but they stopped, but now it's going to go to another studio, so there will still be Uncharted. So you obviously got the God of War franchise that a lot of people, you know about, and it's kind of like a thing that you connect with Sony. Well, you know, The Legend of Zelda is the thing you connect with Nintendo. So I think when you talk about Nintendo's future, The Legend of Zelda needs to be brought up and needs to be talked about. And I feel like, you know, they don't do a press conference, okay? They don't do the press conference at E3, the big thing. Bethesda, EA, and even EA is actually pulled out. So Ubisoft, Microsoft, whatever. E3 in general, I believe, is personally dying and falling apart and not going to be around much longer. But one of the things Nintendo does do is that Nintendo Direct, the thing that they've been absolutely amazing at throughout the year. I mean, they don't even just do it at E3. It started just at E3, but then they started doing it throughout the year, and they've done an amazing job with it. And now we get, obviously, again, I think they'll be back in E3 for another Nintendo Direct. That'll be a pretty big thing. And what can you expect from that? I feel like it's going to be announcements of really big games. I don't think it's just going to be release dates or gameplay of games we already know about. I feel like they'll talk about things that we have not yet seen, which I think they kind of need to. I think Sony kind of needs to do the same thing, have a PlayStation Plays or whatever they call it, Sony Plays, and they need to show some things as well. If you're not going to show up at E3 with a big press conference, that's fine. I actually applaud that and support that. You don't really need to as a game publisher nowadays, but if they do their Nintendo Direct, especially with this video talking about Nintendo, you need to be able to show off a really big game. I think Legend of Zelda is very possible. So to answer my question, 8 minutes later, I feel like, yes, I do feel like The Legend of Zelda will show up around E3. Now again, no press conference, so technically is it being shown at E3? No, but during E3 time, I feel like that Nintendo Direct is a very high possibility that we can get a surprise announcement of the next Legend of Zelda. We could see a trailer, we could just know that they're working on a new game, that's fine as well. I also don't need them to announce a game that's not even close to being done. So if the game's like 3-4 years away, I don't need to see an announcement. But if the game is 1.5, 2 years, 2 years probably absolute max, then yeah, maybe you can show the game, maybe you can talk about the game. It's decently close. I mean, Sony did it with The Last of Us Part 2. We've seen that game for a lot of years now, and the game's not out yet. So it does work. You can still build anticipation for a game, even though it's a couple years out. I just don't want it to be super far out. Then we start getting into Kingdom Hearts 3 territory, where we see the game 6-7 years before the game actually comes out, which I am not a supporter of. And guys, because of the focus of Gamescast now on games, I want to quickly talk about, in the description below, there's a link to Gamefly. And Gamefly, obviously, if you guys know what that is, it is a service where you can rent and actually buy games and movies. The link in the description is for a free trial. It's for a free 30 days. So if you guys are looking to rent any game, you can take out a game or a movie at a time. It puts you in a subscription service after that, but you guys can opt out of that if you want. So there's no catch really involved. 30 days, you guys can rent and play as many games as you possibly possibly can during that time. Again, the link is in the description below, and if you guys click that and you go through with that, it helps the channel out, and I would very much appreciate it. So guys, let me know in the comments below, do you think we're going to see a Legend of Zelda, or do you think Nintendo will announce a new Legend of Zelda game at E3 2019 during their Nintendo Direct? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel, Podcast Now. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when these videos go up. And thank you, as always, for watching these Gamescast Now episodes. I will see you on the next one.